Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and this is from a message that I got on Facebook from, I think it was Blondie Blue Writer, I think that was the name, but I want to thank that person for sending me the message and just giving me the idea for this video, and I'll be sharing a website that was sent to me, and part of kind of a theme that went with some of my Ancient America videos. But I just want to thank the people who have sent me the messages on Facebook and my channel's email. Super cool pics from the ancient United States. Some of you sent me, still have not gotten back to you. And I want to thank the locals who have sent me the messages. A few I have not gotten back to, and I feel bad about that. Some of you want to just buy me a drink or take me out to lunch. And even one guy wants to take me to the Joe Rogan show next time he's at the Mirage. And Joe has a great show, and he's in town quite frequently. So, I mean, that is just super nice, and it kind of overwhelms me at times, but I just want to thank the people because I really appreciate it, and I'm pretty thankful for it. Today, we're going to go down to Tikal in Guatemala, and this is a place that I have mentioned in a few videos. One where an ancient city was kind of discovered beneath the canopy, and also in a video where I just showed you around. I believe it was just set to music, and that's the way a lot of my videos a long time ago were. Just set to music, a good look around, and that's the way I make a few videos still these days, and people say, well, I'd rather hear you talk. Well, sometimes I'm not really in the mood for talking, and all I'm doing is just giving you a look around, where it's located on Earth, what it looks like, and kind of let you make up your own mind of what's going on. But this is the main center at Tikal, and we'll just go down quickly, just take a peek around on Street View. But this is a very impressive center of a very important metropolis that maybe 60, 70,000 people lived in. But here you see some of the main structures in the main center here. And I think this is where they dismantled a pyramid, and I'll talk about that in a second. Then at the opposite end, we have this structure. And at the top, this was probably where they were doing astronomical observation. But here in the main plaza, just take away some growth here, some vegetation, some trees. Use your imagination, go back maybe 1,500 years, and this place is a thriving metropolis of great importance. One of the more impressive Mayan cities we have out there. Now this is Atlas Obscura, and I've used them before, and some of you are familiar with their website. But I will leave the link below. It says, archaeologists dismantled the Mayan pyramid in Guatemala and never put it back together. And I have talked a lot about how ancient ruins have been treated, and especially in my Ancient America series, and not trying to point fingers or anything, but just giving you an overall feeling of, on the broad scale, of how these remains were treated, and it's a wide-ranging spectrum. And those of you who will watch my Ancient America series know that. But here in Guatemala, let me just read. And I'm assuming it's this structure right here that they are talking about. It says, the city flourished deep in the forest, the ancient complex of Tikal. In northern Guatemala, the tops of the limestone temples poked out the thick canopy where the toucans croak and the howler monkeys scramble. Modern-day visitors will see that some of the restored temples still rise above the branches and mahoganies and cedars, but at least one has been reduced to its squat foundation. Researchers dubbed it Structure 5D-33 and suspected that its pyramid went up during the 6th or 7th century. On the stony surface, where its sides used to reach skyward, there are now little blankets of grass like patchy area rugs. Its squashed dimensions aren't simply the product of one millennium turning into another. Archaeologists deliberately dismantled the structure decades ago and rattled the field in the process. In the mid-1960s, archaeologists were wrapping up an extensive excavation on the site. Over more than a decade, wrote William R. Coe, the project director and curator at the University of Pennsylvania Museum. The crew had studied nearly 350 structures and compiled millions of facts and hundreds of thousands of objects along the way. The hall was so vast that the storage facilities bulged with figurines, pendants, vessels, Coe wrote. By the time the crew packed out, leaving their vehicles rusting in the green tangles, they had shot tens of thousands of photographs and filled stacks of journals and bales of rolls of paper with architectural drawings and field notes. They also left structure 5D-33 in the North Acropolis looking much different than they found it. For many archaeologists, the ground surrounding a site holds many clues to mine. But at the Maya site, some of the most beguiling clues were deeper below the surface. Coe wrote, the former residents habitually stripped structures and built over top of them or nested them within new ones. But that's the way it is at many sites. Cultures come along, find ancient ruins, and then put their building on top of those ancient ruins, and then the dating of the original structure gets all muddled. It says, the past was locked away in a vertical puzzle, Coe suggested, and piecing it together would require some digging to get to the earlier structures in the same footprint. A large late classic temple, if carefully taken down, could give us not only the evidence of how everything beneath it went together, but how the Maya, step by step, built on a grand vertical scale during late classic times, Coe wrote. The hope was that they could reverse engineer the building by taking it apart. And here is some of the rock art found, I guess, below the ground here at Tikal in Guatemala. It says the structure had been magnificent, Coe reported, comprised of 5 stacked terraces and 2-room structure on top, soaring nearly 110 feet tall. The Guatemalan Institute of Anthropology and History, a cultural heritage body, signed off on an archaeologist's plan, Coe said, and the pyramid came down. As work progressed, the crews discovered the layers that they had expected to find. The earliest version, it turned out, had been a funeral monument to a 5th century king. They also found striking monumental masks. As the excavators worked, they also ruffled some of the other researchers' feathers. Writing in American Antiquity, Heinrich Berlin, a German Mayanist, complained that his enthusiasm for the project suddenly dropped below freezing when he learned that the temple had been intentionally dismantled. He railed against the willful destruction of the structure and asked whether it would not have been better if this project had never been carried out at all. The archaeologists had overstepped their bounds, he argued, suggesting that curiosity doesn't give anyone free license to dig until they satisfy their appetite. The fact that an archaeologist does not understand something does by no means, generally speaking, entitle him to destroy this something in the hope that by doing so he will understand it, Berlin wrote. So, some controversy, and it says, the spat didn't resurrect the pyramid. By the time Berlin got huffy, it was already gone, and still is. But the tussle did revive sticky, still pressing questions about how present-day researchers ought to cover their tracks, and when and where modern visitors should tread lightly or not at all. So I will leave the link for this below, but I thought this was well stated, and I want to thank the person for sending me this on Facebook and giving me the idea for this video. That's what my channel's all about. Now, from that website, I'm assuming the structure was right here, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. This is a look around the main plaza. These structures here, very impressive, I'm sure, in their original form, because they still are today. Here is a look from the top. I know one of these structures is called the Pyramid of the Jaguar, I believe. I'll just give you a look at some of the stonework up here. And then back down and around. But street view is pretty great at this site. And here you see some of the pyramid structures just peeking out of the top of the canopy here. And here is a look from a little different perspective. But as we swing around the courtyard here, the main plaza, the center, this appears to have some alignment straight east, looking this way. But let's go to a different part here. Drop down on this area just off the central plaza. But you'll just get an idea of some of the ruins around Tikal. And I did that video where I believe 50,000 structures were found spread out in the region, and it makes you wonder what's still hidden today. But this will just give you a look at some of the ruins here. Tough to go steady on street view. But as we swing around here, you notice there still is a structure buried here, and there is still a lot of buried structures at Tikal. This will give you an idea of the stonework. Is it megalithic? Is it huge? No. Is it impressive? Sure is. And there is still, as I said, a lot underneath the surface here. And that article raised good questions. How far should we go to investigate the past? Should we leave some of these places alone? Should we uncover them? Should we restore them? Just raises a lot of good questions in my eyes. But one final look at the plaza here. Seems to be an eastward alignment looking this way. But stuff still under the ground, but a good look from up on top of this pyramid here. A lot under the jungle here, yet to be discovered, I'm sure. Let's just drop down on a couple more sites and then wrap this one up. I think we can go down and see what's right down here. But here we are on top of the structure here. That street view puts you down on top of, gives you a look at the stonework, this pyramid peeking out of the canopy here. And I'm not sure what kind of access is allowed down here at the bottom of the pyramid. This seems to be just kind of peeking out of the canopy. And as we swing around here, I believe this might have been the view from the Star Wars movie. That looks familiar. But Street View does give us a look at the base of that pyramid and how far back does this go and what does it look like when all the vegetation is taken away and how much is still buried here. But this gives you a great look, a place where not a lot of people go, but I'm sure some of my viewers have been to. But this is the base of that structure that's sticking out of the canopy, and how far back does this go? I think this is a great look. Gives us great access here. Something obviously important was right here originally. As you can see in this part of the area, and I don't know if this part is visited as much, but there is still structures that are covered up by time. And in front of it here, you can see the back part is covered up, but the front has this stairway coming off of it. And these pillars they almost look like stelas, but there's nothing written on them. At least that is remaining today. And then you have these down here. So let's go over to this area right here. I have not dropped down on this yet, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to find here. But you get an idea of how vast this place is. Looks like we have a step that is still buried that comes up to the bottom of this pyramid. That's just the way it looks to me. Structure over here, but you see that step that is clear under the ground right here. As we swing around, another very impressive structure. This will give you a good look at the stonework technique. Now here is another structure down on Street View. A lot of stuff to check out. Hope some of you do, but here you can see the ends of these structures are still buried here at Tikal. That is a look at some of the ancient sites at Tikal. This is a very impressive, a very vast ancient city that was spread out all over this region and is still a lot unexplored today. An article about really an ethical part of ancient history. How far should we go exploring these ancient cities and ancient structures? I think it brings up good points that should be discussed and are kind of controversial, but a vast ancient city under the canopy here. Now, how far back does the Mayan civilization go? Well, it doesn't seem to be extremely old. How far back does their knowledge go? Well, it certainly goes back a lot farther in time than the recorded beginning of their civilization. Were they a legacy civilization from the Olmecs? Well, that seems to be suggested a lot. But their astronomical knowledge is vast and goes way, way back in history. They were watchers of the sky. They tracked Orion from Tikal, like other cultures did. But stuff like the Mayan calendar, it certainly goes back a lot farther in time than the Mayans. Its attribution originally, well, where does that go? Is that some lost civilization? Well, that's a possibility too. I hope you thought that video was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.